is there a need to reevaluate what we look at as an intellectually sound person and an Olodo?
My mentor would say, until you ask questions, all your knowledge is accidental.
This Olodo Uprising is bigger than even the content creators we're talking about as the arrowhead right now in this discussion.
Sufficient demonstration of insight is usually regarded as sufficient demonstration of capacity to execute. Anytime you show people insight, they believe you can do it. They call you to do it.
One problem is nobody wants to delay gratification. Nobody wants to come to a company and want to come as an intern. Everyone I've trained in my company as an intern is competent.
Is rejection of experts, right? They're telling you that this is the way to do it, to say no. That's where the Olodo starts. Well, no, it's not that because you don't know.
But everybody says I'm a graduate, so a graduate deserves to be paid. So if somebody comes to my company and I'm telling me we have an internship program where we'll not pay you on a probation for 6 months, he feels it's a scam.
We are not a people who think critically. It's why they can sell us anything. Rats swallowed me. Monkeys swallowed me. We don't think. And as they're selling it to us, within a week, another crazier story has come up and taken it.
But if something is not done now, this whole Olodo Uprising will turn all of us to Olodos. One day you just say that you've conformed.
Every society exists on the foundation of culture, and every culture is influenced by beliefs. The belief system is informed by the information that is available to them. So if you want to change a society, down the line, all you need to do is to change the information that is available to those people. And that's why I welcome you to a conversation with Bright Clifford. What you're going to be experiencing are interactions that is geared towards affecting the information, which ultimately is going to bring about societal transformation. What I encourage you to do is to like this post, share it as much as possible, and express your opinion by leaving a comment as to how this discussion has affected you one way or the other. And ultimately, I encourage you to consider being a subscriber. Welcome to a conversation. Glad to have you here. There was something you said, and at the heart of it, because this Olodo Uprising now is not just something that has to do with, it's not something that just has to do with systems that we're looking at. Now you are talking about even people that come under your employment. There is a certain quality you're looking for. It's not that, did this person go to school? Is that, can this person think? Can this person be innovative? Now, we can talk about the system, but there is not so much that we can do directly. Of course, policy and all those things are very important. But now for the person that is listening to this, is there a focus that this person should follow so that he will be the kind of person that is not limited by what he studied?
Okay, he was talking earlier and he said, we have an advantage on this particular podcast because we are children of God. I have a problem with even the way people are discipled in church. Because if you were to refer to what I spoke about, the backstory to that is, I'm more sad that most of these people were recruited from church settings. And I can't be like every other person that would just complain and just keep quiet about it and want to be sentimental about it just because you're a Christian. You know, I don't think there's a believing bread. I don't think if I want to go to the bakery to eat bread, I'll say I need a believer's bread. There's no believing bread. I just go there and buy the bread. It's excellent. It's tasty, you know. And so it applies to every other invention, innovation, and all that. Yes, there's a sentiment that I want to create a Christian economy because we want to empower our own, but we want to make sure they are qualified. So you see people putting out people and telling you, this is my best, this is my secretary, this is my admin in my church. They don't have a job. Mr. Funshaw, I know that you have outlets where you can employ people. I want these people to be employed, and you employ them. Then you can trace it back to the discipleship in church. If you look at the Bible school trainings and all the other kind of workers training, before now it used to be very extensive. It used to be very deep, you know. But of course, fast food came and pastors were beginning to move very fast to work with the systems, and, you know, the requirements started changing. So for you to be a member of the church, you can just do your Bible school and your Believers Foundation class in one day now. just stay back after that. And I'm not trying to shame you.
Nice one.
Yes, I tell you the truth. And you may want to think this is very far from what we've been discussing, but it contributes to reducing the quality of people. People no longer pay attention to what they have to do, the price they have to pay, how long they have to sit with excellence. Another thing is the bandwidth. We have a lot of restricted people just because of the sentiments of I don't want you stained, I don't want you to be unequally yoked with unbelievers. All of those sentiments can come to play. So for me personally, talking about what the example he gave, I have a problem with that, and it's sad that I can trace it to we children of God that are supposed to be very excellent, are supposed to take over. Let's go back to the Bible and look at David. Let's look at what happened actually. The king never knew David. Even though the brothers were in the army, do you think the brothers had to sit with the king to talk about their younger brother at home? Of course, we know that he was an illegitimate child. Nobody was talking about him. But the soldiers and the people that spoke to the king, they had access to the king. There is an effect. I wanted to say everybody say effect. Yes, there's an audience. Everybody say effect. There was an effect. I was watching a movie a long time ago, it's Matrix. And the guy was trying to explain something and he said cause and effect. And while he was saying that, he had already poisoned someone's cake. Not poisoned per se, but it was a laxative there or something. And he said, life is about cause and effect. He said that he has put a laxative on that cake. In a few moments from now, this lady will stand up from this table and she'll want to go to the toilet. Now, the cause is what they put, but the effect is her going to the toilet. One thing that you can't take away from people that have results is the effect. And the Olodo Uprising is just about that. We can talk all we want to talk. But these guys, like you asked them, you say, is this something, are you suspecting there's something that people are doing deliberately to get people hinged onto all of the social media content we have and all that? Now, let me answer your question. As someone that's practiced ministry and entertainment, if you look at the Compass brand, you will know that we carefully think about our content. We want to make sure that it blesses you. We want to make sure that it entertains you and also informs you. But as time went on, in Kaduna, Abuja particularly, people didn't care about the intellectual strength of Compass. They focused on just the shaft. I just wanted to jump there, just dance there, just make us shout, just flip. And as a professional choreographer, I understand that there are several things I could do with dance. And even the secular guys in my field, they understand these things more than the gospel guys. So we just mumble everything together. Our feedback is what we think is our effect. Our feedback is the shout, is the yelling. So you see somebody that is a professional dancer begins to spin on his head 32 times. Professionally in dance, you've not done anything. It's almost like a drummer just doom, 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 doom. There's no combination. There's no precision. I'm just using drumming because this guy can go out, can play off and still come back to the beat. I don't see all of that. Just be spinning 32 times. Everybody say, woo, they just jump. And like you said earlier, this is now the reason why the person will now become very lazy learning professionally or becoming excellent, because his immediate feedback. So one problem is nobody wants to delay gratification. Nobody wants to come to a company and want to come as an intern. Everyone I've trained in my company as an intern is competent. But everybody says I'm a graduate, so a graduate deserves to be paid. So if somebody comes to my company and I'm telling me, we have an internship program where we'll not pay you on a probation for 6 months, he feels it's a scam. And he says, I don't want to work. So why should you work? What are you contributing to the company? I give you the model, I give you the platform. What you need to do is to use your influence. Do you know that many companies that will employ you because of your influence? They'll promote you because of your influence. So these are the things that I'm not seeing, and I feel that the other guys are making more impact. I'm a brand strategist, and you are calling Pella Olodo. And what I want to see is the numbers. And Pella steps in, and people begin to patronize my. So you want to say, of course, what they're looking for is sales. I always tell my entertainers to, I say, see, these guys are not, you are not an influencer. These guys are using it to sell, especially drinks. Most of the drink companies, just sales. So when you are an industry expert and you are consulting for them and you begin to say things like, you need to grow the industry, those is anti-industry, they say, please go and sit down somewhere. We just want people to come out. How many people can you bring out? So to have it crawl into the church, who is now the Olodo? So you can't fight the fact that they want to get us there. They want to get us to compete. And this is what is making us lose substance. I have staff that make content in the office. Yeah. There's pressure on them to do that. Oh, first day at work, guys, so I'm taking you through this, you know. And I look at it, I'm your boss, and I'm looking at it, and this stuff you're doing with my time, you know. And tomorrow, if I say, oh, you can't work with me any longer, then I'm a testimony, I'm a prayer point. But people know what they're looking for. One last example I'll give to you. I'm not trying to be controversial here. You can edit it, please. Somebody said that there are doctrines in the church in Nigeria, non-denomination, like you have to cover your hair and all of that. But this church purchased a sound, and no sound engineer in Nigeria could handle it, except a lady. Very short lady like that. And when the church was installing their sound, I didn't know where the doctor ran to. Yeah, she entered the church with her hair opened and her jean trouser. Why is it that the doctrine excused expertise? She didn't wear the gown. She didn't wear the scarf. All of a sudden, she's qualified to go in there. I've seen soldiers smoke cigarettes outside churches, guiding it. Why can't the church say, this is church, give me a Christian soldier? Expertise overrode it. So one other thing is the sentiment. Yes. So you are saying these people are Olodos. What you said earlier, that why is it that we have so much mediocrity? One of the reasons is sentiments. So I learned the hard way and I said, no more sentiments. I'll go after what I want to get. I'm doing a production and I have to use all pure foreign dancers. There's a guy called Davido. He doesn't dance with Nigerian dancers. And it's sad that maybe another podcast will say, why is it that people think that excellence is synonymous to foreign? So to him, I have my peace because all the dancers are foreign. I've seen very famous gospel artists know that a ministry like Compass exists where we are purely gospel and all that. But nobody will patronize us because we don't have the algorithm, we don't have the numbers. He'd rather, I've seen him post, or some of those people post, people that are not known, people that don't represent what they should represent. But because some of them have the numbers, you know, and they'll post it up there, you know. So that's part of the problems we're facing. So this Olodo Uprising is bigger than even the content creators we're talking about as the arrowhead right now in this discussion. It's now becoming something all of us are beginning to. Have you ever seen somebody that you maybe you think is not too intelligent, and you see your mom or your dad, somebody you are sentimentally attached to, say, leave me, I like that guy, and they are singing the song. It happened during the time of Mubad, you know, like because of the emotions around it. So people want entertainment. And that's why sometimes there's no gatekeeper any longer. Nobody takes intellectualism anywhere. Does Pella make them laugh? Does Ifekata, yes, it can be extreme, but does it make them laugh? Sometimes we even be criticizing, but we're like, these people are crazy. You're still scrolling through very crazy people. This guys what they're saying. But you're still watching. So the reason why I give that analogy is that a lot of us feel very, very accomplished we're very confident, and we're saying, you know, at school, like you said, someone homeschools his children. You know, this thing can't get to me. I train my children, I check them up, I put them in good schools. But if something is not done now, this whole Olodo Uprising will turn all of us to Olodos. One day you just see that you've conformed. One day you will just see. Like you said, it's a rebellion. They're pushing harder back at you. And they're saying, where are the results? I went somewhere, I'll end this question with this. I'm sorry I'm sharing some personal things, but I think that's what the podcast is about. And this person used to respect me and all that. And because I always want to focus on my calling part time and raise people and all that. And the person went somewhere and got some sort of jobs, foreign jobs with NGOs. And we were arguing about something that was not related to money and accomplishments. And just because the person thought she was familiar, she looked at me in my eyes and said, forget all that nonsense you are saying. What's your net worth? It was the most painful thing that's happened to me. And sometimes we want to run away from the fact that it won't all trickle down to that. At the end of the day, it will trickle down to that. One of the guys that we're talking about wants to get married now, and he says someone gifted him 10 cows. Nigerians will always want to tap into what they think is booming. Yeah. Remember the story of Shina Peters and Jim Ovia, when both of them had a similar amount. I don't know if it's 20 million or 200 million some years ago. And one bought cars, and the other one started the Zenith Bank. You know, the typical Nigerian doesn't think that way. Whatever story is booming, he wants to tap into it. Have you noticed that people sentimentally just give? I wonder how every story in Nigeria ends up with the donation. Every story. There was one I was too sure that it was not going to end up with donation because it was so clear that it was not a cancer case or anything. They looked for a way to say, no, just send support, just give to her, like, you see. That's another thing I think Mr. Bright should talk about. Are you aware people call us a begging nation? There was a time we had a verbal chant with South Africans or so. They were like, man, Nigeria is an begging nation. Everybody just has a way to beg. And you have phrases like, I've not done this before. This is the first time we're doing this. Thank you.
One of the things that we have to accept is the fact that our society, and you said something along that line, that our society is a reflection of the leadership. But when I think about what we look at as intellectualism, I think our scope of it is very limited to, did you go to school or did you not go to school? Because if you have a lecturer, somebody that has a doctorate, societally you say that this person is educated. But if that person is tribalistic, do you really say this person is a major contributor to the advancement of society? Because that sentiment that he holds obviously is along the fault lines. Meanwhile, this person has what you'd want to call educational qualifications. Mm-hmm. So the question now is there a need to reevaluate what we look at as an intellectually sound person and an Olodo?
So I think that when we began, I tried to borrow your words and say and draw a distinction between, I said, is rejection of expertise, right? Yes. They're telling you that this is the way to do it, to say no. That's where the Olodo starts. Well, no, it's not that because you don't know. So you get, it's not a problem not to know. It's that you're now saying, look at what I have versus you're now using your results to become the basis for that argument rather than the entire scope of what we're discussing. So yes, I think that the way I want to think, the way I like to think about it is the whole. I'm thinking of the best way to come at this question. So there's a story that always pours my heart, right? It's the story of Nebuchadnezzar. I like Daniel a lot. I read Daniel a lot. So yeah, so Daniel chapter 2, the guy has a dream, right? He calls everybody and says, tell me the dream, tell me what, and they cannot answer him, obviously. And he says, go and kill everybody. You understand? Go and kill everybody. Then Daniel comes from nowhere and says, why is the king's order so urgent? You understand? Take me to see him. So apparently he was not in the first group of people that appeared, right? Mm-hmm. Then he appears this time and says, give me 3 days. All of a sudden, the king that had said, go and kill them, was now willing to give 3 days. I always ask myself, what happened? It's just very simple. Do you understand? The king's problem was not in the fact that they didn't have the answer. It was in the finality of what they said. Yeah. You see, nobody has ever done it. Don't expect that we can find it. What you're asking for is with the gods, and it does not live here. You understand? So they now bring someone else that says, the Bible says, the heart of the righteous studieth to answer. That's Proverbs. It's okay to say, give me time. And you understand? Hey, this is what to teach in consulting cycles. You can appear and say, give me time and I'll get back to you. There's a doctor who is Dr. Algo. I'm sorry, I had to call his name. The guy is the CEO of Matrix Fertilizer on your way to. He was on a morning like that. He just got called by, he woke up and in the vision he had seen that a client he had not called in a long time reached out to him. So he knelt down and started praying. While he was praying, his phone rang. And it was the guy. The guy says to him, what do you know about fertilizer? The guy says, sir, I don't know anything, but my consultants give me 1 hour, I'll know. You understand? He goes on his laptop, in an hour, he had the answer. Sufficient demonstration of insight is usually regarded as sufficient demonstration of capacity to execute. Anytime you show people insight, they believe you can do it. They call you to do it. You understand? What we are battling really is hydra-headed. Is hydra-headed. The idea of rejecting a way, you understand, is because there's too much negative result. Do you understand? So you look at your people who lead us as president, those who lead us as senate, those lead us as house of rep. When you come up and you are thinking and you are saying, what did they know? You understand? How much academics do they have in that sense? I'm coming back to what you say. Our definition of this Olodo thing must go back to the actual idea, critical thinking. We are not a people who think critically. Yeah. Is why they can sell us anything. Rats swallowed me. Monkeys swallowed me. You know, we don't think. And as they're selling it to us, within a week, another crazier story has come up and taken it. So while we're still trying to come to terms with it, another crazier one happened. Do you understand? In fact, where we are in Nigeria is that even if you kill someone today and they are calling you, dragging your teeth, I just give you 1 week, somebody's going to do another one. Yeah. That they will forget about you. We've lost all capacity for critical thinking, and that's what we are saying. Like I said, it's not a question of those who went to school versus those who don't go to school. The likes of Cosmos Maduka are critical thinkers. Do you understand? The guy didn't see the 4 walls of his school. So it's not about schooling. It's that when we come to your mental capacities and we're saying, we feel this person has a clear line of sight to governance, but this one has money. You tell her, I beg you. You understand? Because you understand, I beg you. Now, you just do us like, you not gaslight us into thinking that we are the ones that are doing bad by thinking. You that are not thinking, you are the one that is okay. You understand? So it's the problem. We need to, how do we think? That comment I made at the beginning, that the quality of a nation is reflected in the quality of a leader that God permits to govern us. So when you look at our leader, you can tell. Because if we did not like that kind of leader, if our persons was not comfortable with him, he would not be our leader. You understand? That's the truth. And so also, that's how you will know whether we're ready to move. The next leader that will come will show whether we've moved. You understand? Or we're still where we are. So this battle is really, really not about a Pella culture. It's not about a Yahoo culture. It's not about no Olodo one thing. It's really about where are our thinking faculties as a country, as a nation. How do we evaluate things? Do you get? When things go bad, who do we blame? Who is held responsible for what? If I enter a system as one who is leading this, do you get? And I'm going to end with this. I have one of my theses that I wrote. I called it the efficacy of laws, and I was in that thesis. I was explaining what I think makes a law binding on anybody, and I used Daniel in the lion's den to give an example. So they come to the king and say to him, "Sign the law." The guy doesn't know what's behind their motive. He signs it, and while he signed, they're telling him, the law of the meats and patience that changeth not. Do you understand? They are reminding him. The day they hook Daniel, they remind him that this law doesn't change. So the guy cannot sleep in the night and say, what have I done? What have I done? That's how you get to effective societies. When laws become binding on the promulgators. I don't know if you understand. So for me, that's how you know an effective law. That the person that gave it, that's how God rules. God is bound by his own laws first. That's what we call faithfulness. He's faithful to the law. The sun will rise, go down at a certain time. It won't change because he's God. The only one person that's altered that is Joshua. And one day as we take him for eternity because of that thing. Do you get? That's how crazy it is. So critical thinking is what we're talking about. How do you analyze situations? You understand? When laws are passed, who are they bound on? When they come to defense, how do people look at things? We've seen people resigned. There was a member of parliament in the US, in the UK, that resigned. The guy was late for a press briefing. 15 minutes. He said, no, I'm not fit to lead you people. Have represented you wrongly. That society is a society where people think of accountability and integrity, not just competence. Yes, the man can do the job, but there are other, Bible says, to your faith add, to this add, to this add. There are other things that make up this composite whole. So our problem, the idea of this Olodo Uprising is really about analytical thinking. Because the same comedy you watch it, Trevor Noah. It's the same comedy. The guy cannot sell that kind of comedy except that he's widely traveled. He understands immigration laws. He tells you about what happens in Australia, what happens in Montreal. You are listening, you are seeing the whole span. You understand? You listen to a basket mouth or you listen to a Bovie that can stand, put a mic and keep people engaged for an hour. Do you get? It's not Sabinu. Sorry. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not that you just come online, try to catch a chicken and say one thing. We must elevate. The problem was attacking that Olodo culture now. It's not really about where we went to school. And I'll end with this. The Igbo word for university is mahadum. What it means is know it all, basically. You understand? And my idea of it is that it's not just, I went to school to study engineering, but while I was at it, they were telling me borrowed courses. You know that idea of borrowed courses? That's where the whole bigotry or bigotry as it's called. Somebody is going to say he's still a bigot. No, university was supposed to cure that. Yeah. That's when you say this person went through the school, but school didn't go through him. He graduated, he probably made the first class, he has a certificate, but the idea of communal life, you know, what school was supposed to do, all the shotgun tests that you were supposed to wake up at night, you knew that it was teaching you about budgeting, you knew it was teaching you about how the eventualities of life, all the things that were supposed to happen to you in those 4 years that you were in school didn't happen. Do you get? So at the end of the day, it's for us to sit and say, what are all the things that happen, both curricular and extracurricular, that makes the composite man? That when you enter the society, you're not a hazard. Because these questions must be asked. My mentor would say, until you ask questions, all your knowledge is accidental. You understand? What you're doing now is basically we're trying to understand it. If we don't, tomorrow we'll just meet on the internet, we'll learn. Maybe another 5 years, another one comes. So these questions are important. And thank you, Pastor Nobi, for bringing us to this kind of setting. I think that this conversation is not one that can end in one podcast. I feel that it needs to be asked, but Nigerians must go back, sit down the drawing board and ask ourselves, what have we celebrated? Where are our, because it's not that we are bad, it's that it started in at a certain time when evil started looking like it was getting more rewarded. The people threw in the towel and said, what then is the gain? Thank you very much.